Like, man, that's what shame does in a person's life. It chokes out the voices. Not only does it distance them from you and lock them, keep them away from you, but it won't even let their voice, it won't let them speak towards you. And it's not Bob, it's the shame that he's fighting.
Hey there, everyone. We are here and back for another podcast. And I'm so excited because Seth is here again. And I just want you all to know that we are really feeling led to do a lot more of these podcasts together. We have such a great time together. I feel like the Holy Spirit just kind of moves through both of us and we enjoy it so much. And I know both of us feel very called to really bring a lot of this message out there. You know, this podcast is titled Reflections of the Father's Heart. And we really and truly believe that if you understand the Father's heart, it will take you into the depths of your soul and you will release things that you didn't even know you were carrying when you truly understand who God is and how for you He is. So, Seth, I am so excited that we get to do this again.
Me too. I love this. And Sandi and I were on a phone call the other day. I don't know, we talked like 2 hours. I was driving and we were just talking and dreaming. And I asked Sandi if she had seen the movie, the Thunderbolts, the new Marvel movie they're going to become the new Avengers. And we had this whole conversation about what that movie is showing us. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is the movie, the Thunderbolts. And I'll just say this, Sandi, like years and years ago, I would watch these movies, not just Avengers, all kinds of movies. And it's like God would show me the underlying message. And at one point, God told me, He said, when I release these movies and they're fresh, like in the theaters or fresh on live streaming, it's a current word for the world. Like here's the word right now for the world. And obviously someone can watch this movie 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and get impacted by the message of the movie. But he said, when it's new, it's a present word, current word for the world. And that's what I feel like this movie is. It's still pretty new. It's not brand new, but it's pretty new. It's amazing. But speaking of reflections of the Father's heart, like there's a father and a daughter in the movie, Yelena, who is Black Widow's sister. So you saw her show up previously in Avengers movies and stuff like that. But she's Black Widow's sister, so she was a trained assassin from childhood, and her dad is also a super soldier like Captain America, but he's the Red Guardian. But Sandi, there's this one moment, like it wrecked me. It was him and her. She'd basically given up, and she's walking off through New York City, and he's following her, and she's trying to get rid of him. But they have this like 2-minute interaction that is so profound. The father's heart for his kids. Like I cry every time I watch it. I watched it like 6 times, and I'm like, this is such a powerful interaction between a father and his daughter. Like he's pursuing her. She doesn't want him to. She's angry. She's like, I haven't seen you for a year. And he says, I don't know how to do this. I thought you didn't want me. And she says, I wanted you. Like, oh man. And then he just tells her a story from her childhood about her soccer team. So if you haven't watched the movie, if you're listening to this or watching this and haven't watched the movie, like it would be a good one to go watch. Yes. It is very intense of a movie. So small kids probably don't want to show it to them. It gets really intense, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was feeling that interaction between the father and daughter where you watch him. She's so angry because she wanted him so bad, but he didn't know how to reach out to her. But then the way he communicates to her, and even throughout the whole movie, he's like trying to get her to form a team, trying to get her to, he notices when the right people come into her life that her light inside her is getting brighter, and he's trying to get her to be a team, and she won't do it. But you can just see the encouragement of the father in her life. You can see that he's championing her, he's celebrating her, he wants the best for her. And then they have this one moment where all of a sudden it's like they reconnect, and they reconnect so strong, and it's profound. But that isn't really the theme of the whole entire movie. It's just this 2 minutes that's beautiful. But Sandi, like I know we talked about this last week, but when I first watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, they're telling us what, how dangerous shame is. I don't think shame is dangerous only as an emotion, but it's dangerous when we have fully identified with the emotion of shame and let it convince us of our identity and let it define our identity. And some would say, like, this is what I would say is like, there's a difference between the emotion of shame and a spirit that attaches to the unprocessed emotion of shame and the stuffed down emotion of shame. And then it becomes a spirit. A spirit will connect to it and convince us this is who we are, that this is the person that it's us, not just something we've experienced, but it's now who we are and it's us. And you see that so clear in the movie. But I don't know. I feel like I could talk for 2 hours straight about this movie and unpack it. So I'm gonna try not to do that. But I'll tell you the basis of the story. So the government has been a portion of the government's been working to create a new super soldier because the Avengers are gone and there are no more Avengers that are going to come save the world anymore, basically is where they're at. So this portion of the government has been, and I even think it's an outside of the government organization, but she's also in government, and they have been attempting to create a new super soldier like a Captain America, but it's been failing. Everyone they get dies from this experiment that they're running on them. And but so she's actually trying to clean up the mess of, she's trying to remove all the loose ends. So she's got all these trained assassins that are they've been doing work for her individually, and she sets them all up to kill each other, and then she's going to destroy all evidence and wipe her name clean and go off. But when this is happening, as they're at this place where they're supposed to kill all of each, they're going to kill each other, and she's going to be free from all the evidence. This guy shows up named Bob, and no one knows how he got there. I mean, they drop these hints of like, oh, he was this project. He was Project Sentry, and he's actually a new super soldier, but nobody knows it yet because he doesn't even know how he got there. He doesn't remember. He was on drugs. He was looking for more drugs, and he gets in this, whatever, they put some serum in him. He gets in this container, and he wakes up in this place. And so, long story short, this guy basically has been born again. Like, if I could describe it that way, it was like he went in one person into this, it's almost like it's not a casket, but it's like a container. He's asleep in this container in a deep sleep, and now he wakes up, but he has no idea what's happened to him. But he has this whole brand new life with all this power. At one point in the movie, she explains and says, you have more power than all of the Avengers rolled up in one.
Yep.
And he goes, well, why would I listen to you then? Because you said I have more power than all the Avengers, and there's at least one God in the Avenger, Thor. And obviously we're not proponents of like Greek mythology and all that stuff, but he's like, there's at least one God in the Avengers. And if I'm more powerful than all of them, then I'm like a God. And, but all of that to say, you have this guy who has been born again. He's got all this new ability. He can fly. He's bulletproof. He's so profoundly powerful. Like, all five of the Thunderbolts, five, six, however many there are, because Bucky the Winter Soldier is now involved, and they try to fight this guy, and he is easily stops all of them. And but it's a picture of what happens when a person, I think, when a person's been born again, they've got a brand new life, they've got the Holy Spirit inside them, they've got a new identity, a whole new identity. Like, you are not just Bob anymore. You're not just Bob the drug addict anymore. You are now Robert the Sentry, with all this power, all this capability, all this whole new life. But he still believes that all of his mental, emotional struggles from before, his past, is still his present, because his past hasn't been healed. And he's a new person, new power, an entirely different being altogether. But who Bob was before this is still there. And it's not just who Bob was, it's Bob's shame that I describe as a spirit that's connected to his unprocessed emotions and unhealed emotions. And so it's like he's carrying this around. Am I making sense so far? I'm not trying to ruin the movie, but I'm trying to
No, this is,
picture.
yes. Yes, this is really good. And I was just going to add one quick thing, because I felt it hit when you first spoke it. When you talked about the father and the daughter, I just felt like there's somebody listening who needed to connect with that, for a moment, because it was rocking me, actually. Just this idea that, here is her imperfect father, still trying to encourage her, still wanting her to connect and have this team and wanting the best for her. And, she's going, I wanted you, but you were never there. And I felt like I just felt this nudge from the Holy Spirit that there's so many of us that grew up with parents that weren't for us, and maybe there's hurt or didn't raise us the right way. And now we're trying to have this relationship with God. And I feel like somebody really needs to hear how for you God is, and that God is actually bringing you together with a team. Like, I feel like there's so many people out there that need to know that God is bringing us together as a team. We're not supposed to fight one another. And when Seth talked about the part of the movie where here's Bob, who he's so empowered and he's got this amazing power, but because of the shame and because of all these things that are still in his present that are from the past, he's believing the wrong people. He's actually fighting the people that are for him. He ends up fighting the wrong people, and he ends up doing all this damage because he's got so much damage that hasn't been healed.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to miss that. You're spot on. This is
So
great.
good. Yeah.
Yes.
And feel free to interject whenever.
No, I love it.
I wanted to go back to, while you were talking, Sandy, when Yelena, so that's the trained assassin, Black Widow's sister, when Yelena and Bob first meet, everyone can tell Bob's not okay. Like, he talks to himself. He's not mentally, emotionally healthy. And she's talking to him, and she has had her own struggles. Obviously, being a child soldier, she's dealing with shame, regret, guilt. She's loaded with it. And they have this conversation, and she's like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes all that stuff builds up and piles up. I don't remember her exact words, but he goes, what do you do with it? What do you do with all that? Like, he's asking her for advice. And she goes, well, you just shove it all down and lock it inside. And so you have this clear picture, this quick picture of, like, both of these people have a lot of shame and guilt and regret from their past. Yeah. And they have just shoved it all down and locked it inside. And that's where their relationship really initiates and starts. But then, after Bob's been empowered, he's new, he's crazy powerful, he's just fought all the wrong people. He's fought the people that have little by little become more and more for him and realized, like, we need to help this guy. And he's just defeated all of them. But the lady who created the experiment and turned him into this super soldier, she realizes she's not going to be able to control him. and she has a kill switch, and they kill this. They do the kill switch. It's She doesn't do it because he knows what she's going to do, but her assistant hits the kill switch and Bob drops dead. They think he's dead, but all of a sudden he turns completely black, and he's now floating above New York City, and he's completely black with these little white eyes. So it's kind of scary for kids. I would not watch this with little children because it's quite intense. But you have this person who's completely taken over by his shame from the past, so much so that he's totally blacked out except for his little white eyes. He's above New York City, and he starts aiming his hand at people, and they just vanish into a black shadow, almost like poof, they're gone. And he's releasing it. He's just aiming it at everyone, and everyone is vanishing off the face of the earth. You think they're vanishing off the face of the earth. And then the blackness starts taking over the whole entire city, and everyone that the blackness, every building's being taken over by this black darkness, by the void. He called it the void. And that's this old identity that's no longer him, but he's owned it. He's taken it on. It's taken him over. And so everything is coming under the void, and people are vanishing everywhere. And Yelena realizes that throughout the movie, every time she's touched him, or any of them have touched him, they go into their own childhood shame. They immediately go into these visions, these experiences of their own childhood shame. So she's remembering the first time she set up a girl to get killed. She's being haunted by it when she comes in contact with him. So she decides she's not going to run from the void that's taking over the whole entire city, and everyone is getting taken out by this emptiness, this blackness, this void. She decides to go into it, because I think what she thinks, which it makes sense, like what she's thinking is like, I have to go into it to find him. This is not the Bob this is not the Bob who he's supposed to be. I need to actually enter into what he's releasing over the city. I mean, Sandy, it's such a powerful picture of like, if we don't deal with this shame, the people around us will come in contact with our shame, and it will perpetuate, and it will continue to grow, and it will continue to take over.
Yes.
But it's all because he hasn't dealt with his shame, and he has no idea how to deal with it, because he shoved it down. She shoved it down. None of them know what to do with it. But she goes into this black void. All these people are already gone. She goes into it, and she doesn't vanish, but she goes into it like it's basically like a supernatural experience with her childhood shame. And so she starts like, yeah, there's so much. Hopefully this all makes sense. She starts with the first time she set up her friend. She brought her out into the woods in Russia. A guy comes in and kills her, and she's trying to escape it. She's trying to run from this childhood scene.
Yes.
And she tries to run away from it, and she runs right into a wall. And then it just plays on repeat. This scenario from her childhood that's caused her lifelong shame is on repeat. And so she goes and she tries to stop the girl, and she can't stop her, and it repeats again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what happens with shame, is it plays these things over and over in our hearts, in our minds. It plays these things, puts them on repeat to hold us in there and keep us in there and not let us out. Well, somehow she breaks out of that experience of that childhood shame right into another one where she was the fastest one putting the gun together. And if she was the fastest one, all the other girls got their hands whipped. And now this scene is on repeat. So she broke out of she ran away from the first scene that caused her shame into the next scene of her life that caused her shame. And she's stuck in it. And then she sees Bob in the mirror, and she tries to go into it, avoids, runs away from that one into another scene of her as an adult where she just drinks herself to sleep. She just drinks herself unconscious so she can try to relieve the pressure of the shame that's been building and building and building in her life. And she goes up to herself. She's in this scene with herself on the bathtub with a bottle. She's unconscious. She goes up to her. She tries to lift her head, and she grabs her, the girl that's drunk and passed out, grabs her by the neck, throws her against the wall, and starts pouring the alcohol. I'm like, oh, this is self-sabotage. She's trying to help herself. She ran from one scene of shame, ran into another one, ran out of that one into another one, and now this scene is trying to drown her in alcohol too. And it's this crazy picture of self-sabotage of what happens. And then she sees Bob again, and she's like, Bob, and he pulls her into his childhood shame. And what she says, she goes, hey, he goes, how you doing? What's happening? She's like, oh, not much. Just everyone in the whole city is something like the void's taking over the whole entire city, and everyone is going into these interconnected rooms of shame. That's the word. That's the phrase she used. Yep. Interconnected rooms of shame. Yep. And she sits down with him, and you can tell he's in a room that he would go to as a child to avoid his dad, his parents' relationship, all the shame his dad put on him, his mom put on him. Like, you can hear it going on below him in the kitchen, but he's in the upstairs room, and he's listening to all this, and you can just hear it go. His dad put a bunch of shame on him. Then he tried to stop his dad from fighting his mom, and his mom says, stop, you always make it worse. So now mom's piling on shame. And so he just goes up into this room as a little kid to avoid all the shame that's coming at him from every direction. And she sits down, Yelena sits down with him in this room. Craziness is going on below them. They're in the upstairs attic or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, this is the best room I have. Like, this is the one with the least amount of shame, basically. And she sits down with him, and she basically says, hey, you remember how I told you to shove it all down inside? He's like, yeah. She's like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And he's like, how do you know? And she's like, because I'm already starting to feel better. Like, she'd been facing it by her going into the void, she'd been facing her own shame. And yes, she's still trying to run from it. Yes, she's still trying to get out of it. She's still trying to escape it, but she's realizing, I have to face it to break it. I can't just run from this my whole life. So now she's telling him, I'm already starting to feel better. And then all of a sudden, her dad shows up. All the other people who were on this team that was forming, they all show up. They've all come to help Yelena and ultimately to help Bob. And they know they have to go into and through their own shame in order to find Bob in his shame. But while they're talking, the room, like the chairs, start flying at her and slamming her, and all the stuff that's in the room is like coming out. And she's like, who's doing this? And he's like, I think it's me. But it's not him. It's the shame he's been carrying that's causing anyone who tries to get close to him, it's sabotaging all of it and trying to destroy them, get them away from you. She's now joined you in your shame room, your best shame room, and everything in the room is coming at her, trying to break this up. And at one point, the curtain comes off the window and it starts strangling both of them together, and it's trying to choke them out, and they're connected by this curtain that is choking both of them out. And it's like, Bob thinks it's him that's doing this, even though he's in the middle of it too. So it's this outside force that is of his shame that is trying to take both of them out completely. But then the other heroes show up and cut the curtain, and then they basically are like, Yelena says, you said this was the best room. We have to go through all of your rooms. Take us to the worst. Because she's realizing, unless we go with you through all of your shame, We cannot break this. And your shame will continue to bring everyone back into a void. And when I was watching it the last time, I realized, the earth was without form and void until God spoke. And when God spoke, the earth formed. But before that, it was a void. And I was watching the movie going, these are the areas of our lives where we've not only tried to run from our shame, avoid our shame, hide our shame, but in doing so, we've also ran from God's voice speaking into that void. And so while New York City's coming under this whole entire void, she knows if we don't go through all your shame, it's going to keep taking over everything, and you will stay here thinking it's you. You won't be free. None of us will be free. We've got to get you out of this, and we've got to go through all your shame rooms. So they start going, and first they go into the kitchen where his dad is like, Rob, Bob, Robert, Rob. And I think one of them just knocks him out, and they keep going through that room. And then they end up where he was a meth addict, and he was dressed in a chicken suit, flying a sign for a chicken restaurant. And he's now trying to hit all of them. He's hitting them with this sign, fighting them with this sign. And he's like, sorry, I was on meth. And they get away from the chicken, and then they get into this other room. But they get into finally they get into the room. I hope this is all making sense. It'll make sense if you watch the movie, or if you've seen it, this will all make sense.
It's making a lot of sense. It's good. Yes.
They finally get to the room where Bob got the injection to make him this, he went to get this injection to get away from who he was. He was looking for more drugs, but they promised him, like, we can make you better. And he's like, okay. And so it's the very room where he got the experimental serum put into him.
Yeah.
And Yelena had been there before. She'd been there in the opening scenes of the movie, because she's trying to clean the Ox Corporation, who's the organization that's been experimenting. She's trying to remove all the evidence. So she's been in this room. And so they enter this room. All of them enter this room, and the void is on the table where Bob got the experiment. And he's sitting there, and Bob's like, this is where I thought I could become something.
Yeah.
And the void, who's sitting at the other end of the room, says, and look what you unleashed. That was your big mistake, or something like this. That was your greatest mistake, that you thought you could be something. And so now that entity of shame, that spirit that he is now fully partnered with in the natural, is coming at them. And Yelena tries to help convince him. This is what's so crazy about shame. It's like, man, she's trying to tell him the truth, but the shame will not let her voice get to him as who he. It won't get to the real Bob. Shame. So like, she tries to tell him, like, we're going through, we're getting out of this. And the table comes up, that void, the shame void, sends this table at her, and it locks her and her dad up against the wall. So they're trapped behind this table up against the wall. Yeah. And then the Captain America figure gets trapped. The other girl gets trapped. Bucky gets trapped. Everyone who was close to him, his shame, this void has distanced them and trapped them, so they can't help him. And it's just him versus the void. His own shame is him facing his own shame by himself. Even though they're there, the shame will not let them help, and it locks them away, like up against the wall. And Bob tries to fight his shame. So he goes up and he tries to fight the shame, this void, this character, this persona that's in front of him that looks like him, but it's all black. And he starts fighting it, but it's way too powerful until he gets on it. And now he's punching his shame. It's so powerful, because like, this is what people try to do. They either avoid their shame, hide from it, try to get away from it, try to pretend like it didn't happen, but it just keeps haunting them on repeat. Or they go face it and they try to fight it. And the more Bob is fighting this this black being that looks like him, the more he tries to fight it, the more it's actually taking over his body. And he's becoming the very thing he's trying to remove from his
Mhm.
life. And Yelena at one point tries to tell him, like, no, Bob, don't, this is not going to work, or this is not how you, something. She's trying to reach out to him. And this wire comes up and starts choking her. I'm like, man, that's what shame does in a person's life. It chokes out the voices. Not only does it distance them from you and lock them, keep them away from you, but it won't even let their voice, it won't let them speak towards you. Like, and it's not Bob, it's the shame that he's fighting. So he keeps fighting and it's taking him over more. And she realizes, well, then the room even grows. The room, like, they're getting pulled further and further and further away. Even though they're in the same room, now they're hundreds of feet away instead of 20 feet away. Now the room is, so it's just distancing Bob from everyone who's actually in his corner, in his circle, cares for him. It's keeping them so far away, choking them out, not letting them have a voice, keeping them locked up from actually helping him. And this shame wants him to keep fighting it so it can fully take him over once and for all. Well, finally, Yelena's dad, the Red Guardian, gets the table free. She gets out and she runs towards Bob, and he's punching this shame, but it's about to fully take him over.
Yep.
And she grabs him because the void had told him, we're always gonna be alone.
Alone.
And she grabs him and goes, you're not alone. I'm here. And that's all she says. And she holds him. Well, then the dad gets free. Then Captain America gets free. Then the other lady gets free. Then Bucky gets free. And they all come up and grab him in the middle of him trying to fight this void, fight this shame. They all
Yes.
grab him and they surround him, and they're just with him in it. Like, Sandy, it's one of the things we say in our intensives is your heart does not need to be fixed. Your heart needs to be witnessed. You need
Yes.
people to witness your heart. And in that
Yes.
scene, I was going, he's
Yes.
got all these people who've just broken through every area of shame in his life. And they're at the final boss, so to speak, the biggest point of shame in his life. And all they're doing is saying, you're not alone. Here we are. We're here. And all of a sudden, this shame that was totally taking over him while he's trying to fight it, they all fall out. They fall back, and the whole thing is gone. And that void that was taking him over, now it's become the black shadow, and it's gone. And they wake up. So there's so much more to this story, but what I want to communicate in this was, like, this is such a powerful picture of when we all have, and that's what they say throughout the movie over and over, it's like, we all have stuff we regret, we all have stuff we feel guilt about, we all have stuff we feel
Yes.
ashamed of, we all have stuff.
Yes.
And they've all been trying to avoid it and pretend and become something amazing, but none of them have been able to really become something amazing because they're still dealing with the shame. None of them have got to fully become who they really are because that shame has haunted them their whole life, all of them. And now they're in this place realizing, like, okay, shoving it down doesn't work. Locking it away doesn't work. Running from it doesn't work. You have to go through it, into it, and then you need people with you in there to actually bring you through it and break it off of your life once and for all. And that's what happens in the movie is you see the shame that was coming through him to the whole entire city. Everyone he came in contact with came under his shame because now he's got power. Now he's got a new life with a new power, but it's being harnessed by shame to spread everywhere. And everyone that's come under this shame, including himself, they're either trying to run from it or they're trying to fight it. And the more they try to fight it, the more it takes them over. And I I just think this movie is a current word for where humanity's at, for where a lot of Christians are at, is
Yes.
We've been given a new life, but the past is still our present because we've either tried to avoid it, we've tried to run from it, or we've tried to fight it without letting others in. And that's one of the ways to break shame, is to just admit and be honest with be totally honest with what's going on inside. Truth makes free. Honesty makes free. Telling the truth, obviously, continuing in Jesus' word is the truth, and the truth makes free. But being honest makes free too, because it doesn't stay in the dark. It doesn't stay in the void. It comes to the light and it gets free. But letting people into those places are what broke it off of him once and for all, so he could be Bob again. And I'm just sidebar real fast. I'm so excited for how Marvel is going to develop his character, because now he's free from the void, the shame, but he doesn't have his power. He doesn't know how to access his power without that. And so I'm really excited to see how they're going to develop the character. But all of that to say, I feel like it's a current word for humanity to go, we're all carrying shame. We've tried to shove it down. We've tried to lock it away. We've tried to run from it. We've tried to drink it away. We've tried to fight it. We've tried to keep it away from everybody. We've tried to hide from it in the attic and pretend like this is the best room, so I'm just going to stay here. I'm just going to live here in this little tiny space. I'm not going to explore anything. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to stay in this little room because this is where I feel the least amount of shame, and I'm just avoiding. Or finally, I try to face it and I try to fight it, and all it does is push people away. It pushes the people who care for us away. It chokes their voice out so that we can't hear them, and it tries to take over our whole entire life once and for all. And it needs to be broken, and it needs to be broken by people actually coming into our lives, into these places where they witness our heart. They witness what's really going on. The heart doesn't need fixed, it needs witnessed. And as soon as that happened for him, it was gone. It was gone. He was free. And the whole city, everyone that had come under his shame, immediately free as well. And so, yeah, I don't know where to take it right this second, but you probably got
Oh,
something, Sandi. But that's what I saw in this movie. There's a lot more to it, but
there is.
this this movie has that's that's the main gist of the movie that I saw. The main plot line, main point, main communication. Here's how you break shame, and here's why it's important.
Well, and I love it. I love what you shared and how you broke it down. It's funny when you and I spoke, I had seen it once and I loved it. I'm a superhero movie fan anyway. I feel like there's always a lot of really cool themes. But I went and I watched it again. And right along with what you're saying, one of the things that we even talked about when we talked about the spiritual warfare and emotional health, and you look at some of these scenes, like in particular there's the scene when Yelena, like Seth mentioned, she's facing her past, and then she comes into this scene and in a bathroom, and she sees herself drunk on the floor, and she goes in to try to lift the head up and say, oh my gosh, like don't do this. Like she could see it, and all of a sudden the memory that she's facing basically grabs her by the throat, like what Seth said. And in that moment, as I was watching the movie, I was like, this is exactly what we talk about. Your unhealed memories, that unhealed, what you could say traumatic events, those painful events, those things that you feel all that shame around, are the enemy's playground until they're healed. And I could even see the spiritual side of it, where there is the darkness coming through this memory to grab her and choke her. Or when they were walking with Bob, and here he is, he's the chicken with the sign because he was on meth, and he's the chicken's trying to beat him. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, but it's really true. A lot of times, even if we're not the ones that inflicted the pain, a lot of times people have inflicted it on us. But especially when you're a child, children don't have the capacity to go, this adult who is an authority figure is in the wrong and is hurting me. That's not what children do. Children go, I'm wrong. I'm bad. And that's where that shame really enters. But that is also where the darkness enters. That unresolved pain, that memory, that event it's the enemy's playground until it's healed, till it's witnessed, till it's heard. And so that theme is so powerful, right? Because shame, like Seth said, it is an emotion, but the emotion of shame is meant to bring it's a convicting emotion. It's why it feels so big, because it in its purest form, right, in a healthy form, shame is meant to turn us away from something that we shouldn't do. When I feel shame, I don't want to do that anymore. But because of the way that the enemy twists our experiences and the way that sin entered the world, things that either we've done or things that others have done to us now get twisted into, it goes beyond condemnation. The movie really depicts it very well. It becomes part of this identity that's based on a total lie and is then affecting every single area of your life. And I love the part, Seth, where Bob is fighting, right? He's fighting the void. Basically he's fighting the spirit of shame is what he's doing.
Yeah.
And in his way, he's going to fight it by himself and he's going to annihilate it, right?
Right.
He's going to get violent and he's going to annihilate it. But really and truly, what is he doing? He's annihilating himself because he's partnering with this idea that it's about he's bad and he just needs to pound that out of himself. And I love what you said about even sabotage, right? So for so many people, I think a lot of times the way that we deal with shame is that we start to self-punish. We start to bring in those self-punishing voices of, look how bad you are. You ever have somebody give you a look or say something to you like, oh man, you could have done that better. And all of a sudden you're re-injured from something that happened way back then. And then you're just in that self-punishment. And that's what was happening. And it was exactly what the void wanted him to do.
Yeah.
The void wanted him to self-punish because then it could take more and more and more. And like Seth said, it wasn't until there was a witness who could say, wait a minute, I'm with you. Like, this isn't the way. Let me be with you, that could be healed and it could actually stop the dark power could stop overtaking him.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, Seth, with everything that you share, there's so much in here for everyone. And I really want everybody to really grab onto, we all have areas in our lives where there is that spirit of shame that's attached to something that we haven't dealt with. And if we don't deal with it, it deals with us. And then it disrupts our ability to walk in the power of the Holy Spirit. It disrupts our ability to truly be in connection the way that we're meant, to have the teams that we're meant to have. I know for me, past shame used to keep me pretty isolated. I was kind of an island unto myself anytime I was doing anything, because the idea of being partnered with other people and walk with other people linked arm in arm also meant that somehow there'd be a message that there it is again, I'm not enough. And it really wasn't about me trying to be better than others. It was feeling that I wasn't, and it was causing me to be really isolated. And I'm sure all of you can think of areas in your life where that's the case and you're living a life that's less than. I think the being able to find resources and get witnessing is just the way out. So I just think it's really profound.
Yeah. It's so profound. That's how it finally broke for him, was the people that were there all along.
Yeah.
And well, not all along. They'd increasingly become more and more there for him and with him. But this thing was trying to get him to do it on his own, trying to keep him isolated, trying to push them away, trying to sabotage every relationship he had at this point. And it was when they got in there and that it broke for all of them. They all came out of that different. And they all discovered none of what we've been doing to get rid of this has worked. None of it's worked. And that's, Sandi, that's one of the things we love to say, like when we do our intensives, is like, if what you've tried in the past to get rid of this shame,
Mm.
these emotions that may have had a spirit attached to them, may have had an identity, con- uh, convinced you of an identity that's actually not who you are, and wants to keep you there so you never become who you really are. That we like to say, if what hasn't worked in the past, if what you've tried in the past hasn't worked, it's not because there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's because it's been bad information that has tried to convince us, oh, here's how you deal with this. You drink it away, you isolate, you avoid it, you shove it down, you push everyone away, even if you don't mean to. You want them close, but you also kind of push them away. That's what we love to communicate is, if what hasn't worked, it's if it hasn't worked before, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because you haven't had the right information.
It's so true. It's so true. My camera just lost a battery, but that's okay. We'll keep going. I'll just switch to my other camera. It's all good. But it's so true. We say it very often that, if you've tried other things, or you felt like you've been in community and you just haven't had the opportunity to be witnessed, because maybe when you've tried to share something, the other person, like Elena in the movie, has learned that the only solution, right, is to just push it down and throw away the key. And so the only advice and the only witness that they're going to give to you is going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
They're going to witness to you in the same exact way.
Yeah.
Push it down, throw away the key. And so let me give you lots of reasons to continue to suppress your shame. Let me give you lots of reasons why what you're feeling isn't there. Let me give you lots of reasons and lots of scriptures a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of twisted scripture, right, as to why you don't need witness. You just need suppression. Because what I appreciated about the movie is, here's Yelena, and she's giving Bob the tools that she has in the beginning, right? She's giving him, this is what you do, because this is all she had. And most of the time for people out there, that's what's happening. I was telling Seth, I just got back from leading a certification training for grief recovery in Miami. And it always amazes me when people come in with all these stories, how many times people around them, their community, has given them lots and lots of reasons to suppress, because it's the only tools that those people have had.
Yep.
And that's why Seth was saying, if you've tried other things and you're frustrated because, oh my gosh, this hasn't really helped me, that's why. Even in the world, let's say, of psychology, and I know lots of great psychologists and people that I really, really admire, but a lot of times they're giving these tools that might appeal to the intellect, or you might have tools that are spiritual tools that are dealing with that or appealing to that, but they're not appealing to the heart. And shame is something that can take over your heart. It can infiltrate your soul, and you can put every bit of intellectual truth in there that you want, or every bit of, maybe spiritual truth. But if it's not appealing to the heart, and if it's not providing that witness, it's going to lead you to further suppress.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't want that for anyone. And I don't think, no, God doesn't want that for anyone as well. We don't want that. God doesn't want that. And it's time for that thing to break. It's time for, I think that's what the movie's communicating. It's time for those of us who've tried everything else and it hasn't worked. We've tried all the advice. We've tried all the stuff. It has not worked for us. We know that thing is still there. We've got to let people in. We've got to let people in, and we've got to let our hearts fully be witnessed with everything that goes on and has gone on.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It's not going to let me grab another camera, but that's okay. We're almost at the end anyway.
Yeah.
It's all good. But I just want to say, first of all, Seth, when we were talking, like you said, we were talking for like 2 hours, because we were just like, oh my gosh, this whole idea of shame, it's permeated and has continued to permeate the world, to permeate believers, and it's preventing you from stepping in to the purpose and the plans that God has for you. And we talked a couple weeks ago. Seth and I talked about the emotional wholeness assessment that we did, and the reason that we did that is because we wanted people to be able to grab that opportunity of, oh my gosh, I can look at how emotionally healthy am I? How much is shame driving me to be disconnected from God, disconnected from others? Where do I sit? And we did that because our hearts are, we really want to see people free. When you look at, all the power that Bob had, and yet here his past was basically taking over his present moment
Yeah.
and disrupting him from having a healthy relationship with his inner power.
Yeah. Yeah. And that assessment, I would just encourage all of you, as you're listening to this or watching this and you're like, man, yeah, maybe I've tried to avoid. Maybe I've tried to drown it out. Maybe I've tried to isolate. Maybe it's sabotaged my relationships. Maybe I am surrounded by people but feel so alone. Maybe I've sabotaged work or all kinds of things. All these things that have been sabotaged by this. What the assessment does is help you see whether or not what you've done has worked. It's only a 3-minute assessment.
Yep.
You answer a few questions. It gives you a score to help you realize, oh, yep, I've been shoving it down. Yep, I've been avoiding it,
Mm,
running from it, not facing it.
mm,
Yep, I haven't let anyone in. I've tried to
mm,
deal with this all by myself. I met a man actually not that long ago, Sandi, and we were in an environment where men were just sharing their stories, being totally
mm.
vulnerable with their stories. And this man, he came to us in tears and he said, today I shared something that I was going to take to my grave. I was going to take it to my
Wow.
grave, and it's haunted me my whole entire life. It's haunted me as a father. It's haunted me as a husband. And he was there with his kids, 2 of his kids, and he shared it with them first. And the freedom that was on this guy, because he
Mm.
was no longer shoving it down and no longer going to take it to his
Wow.
grave. It was like he changed into it. He was a different person from just having his heart witnessed, but he had to get in an environment where he could see, oh, this, what I've been doing hasn't worked. His story was the a different version, but the same theme of this movie: the isolation, the damaged relationships, the pain, the hiding, the avoidance. And as soon as he came out with it, something changed in his life. And so
Wow.
this assessment will help you see what you've been doing. Sometimes people take the assessment and they come out with a score that goes, wow, you're really doing a good job of not shoving this down and not
Mm.
avoiding it. And then other
Yep.
people take it and they go, oh, I look on the outside like I'm doing really well, but on the inside, I haven't been handling this stuff. That's what this assessment will reveal, will show you, will help you see, so that you just know, after this 3 minutes where you're at with your heart, with your emotions, with shame, with fear, with regret, with all these things. You'll see, why have I struggled at keeping people close enough that I can say they're in my life, but far enough away that they're not really there. They're not really connected. And it's not me. It's this emotion that's never been processed, that's become something that does it to me. You'll just be able to see it. After 3 minutes, you'll be able to see where you're at. And then we have options for people. We have
Yep.
options to go, if you need your heart witness because you've never shared this, or you've only shared parts of it, you've only looked at parts of it, but you've buried the rest of it. We have opportunities for you to get all of it witnessed, so you become the person you're actually meant to be and God's actually called you to be. And you're no longer affected by the past continuing to be your present.
Absolutely. I just wanted to add on to that, Seth, that, like Seth said, the assessment's amazing, but we also have other things that you can plug into. And we are going to be doing a 2.5 day workshop. It'll be online, so you can join on Zoom wherever you are. And it's going to be at the end of January. So that's something to keep in mind. If there's something that really tugs your heart, our heart is to get you the right information to help you to live a fuller life, to give you the concepts, but we also want to give you the tools to be able to move through these things. And so we'll have more information, and I'll definitely tag these things below, but just know that is coming, and that is something that you can join, and in 2.5 days have a lot more freedom. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, we are. We're so excited. End of January, intensive workshop, 2.5 day workshop. Yeah, it's not just information. You get surrounded by people who need to be surrounded as well. And everyone comes out fully witnessed, having people fully walk through all of that shame with them, because that's what the heart needs. It needs to be witnessed by people. It doesn't need to be fixed by advice. And that's what this workshop, this 2.5 day workshop, creates for you. Not just information, but an experience with people in the same place. So you guys all come out completely different.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Well, we just want to say thank you so much for joining today, and being patient with my camera. At least the audio is good.
Yeah, I know. The audio is great.
Yeah. But thank you, everyone. And thank you, Seth. I just, like I said, we're going to be doing a lot more of these. So keep tuning in, because we've got so much lined up to be able to share with all of you. And we're just super excited. So remember to give a like, remember to share, remember to subscribe, and leave us a review too. That just really helps the algorithm to get things out there. And I'm sure you can all sense this is desperately needed out there. So we appreciate you. Thank you, Seth.